At just 25 years old, Anita Johnson had grown weary of the endless struggle in her small hometown of Oba, a quiet rural community where dreams often faded under the weight of survival. Her widowed mother, Mama Rose, sold vegetables at the roadside, doing her best to support Anita and her two younger brothers. Anita, a bright young woman with a diploma in business administration, had big dreams: to work in the city, earn good money, and build a better life for her family. Every night, she'd gaze at the stars above her small window and whisper, "One day I'll make it. I'll change our story." When a childhood friend returned from Lagos, wearing designer clothes and speaking of opportunities, Anita felt her moment had come. With her mother's reluctant blessing and a small bag of clothes, she left home, her heart filled with hope and ambition. The city greeted her with blinding lights, roaring traffic, and promises that seemed within reach yet always out of grasp. For weeks, Anita searched for a job, sleeping on a friend's couch and surviving on bread and water. Then one fateful evening, while she was leaving a job interview, a sleek black SUV stopped beside her. The tinted window rolled down, revealing a well-dressed man in his late 30s, confident, charming, and articulate. "Are you okay? You look tired," he said softly. That was how Mr. Richard, as he introduced himself, entered her life. He claimed to be a businessman, the owner of a real estate firm. His smile was warm, his voice reassuring. He offered her a ride, then lunch, and before long, he began to help her, paying for her accommodation, buying her clothes, and promising her a position in his company. For Anita, it felt like a dream come true, the kind of miracle she had prayed for. Days turned into weeks. Mr. Richard showered Anita with gifts and affection. He called her "my future" and told her he was divorced. Slowly, Anita let down her guard, believing she had found not only a helper but also love. He introduced her to his friends as his fiancée, took her to dinners, and promised to marry her once the paperwork with his ex-wife was finalized. Anita, naive and overwhelmed by gratitude, gave him everything: her trust, her body, and her heart. She began to live in an apartment he rented for her, decorated with furniture he bought. Her life seemed to change overnight, but one evening, the truth began to unravel. Anita noticed that Richard always switched off his phone at certain hours. He was often in meetings, and sometimes disappeared for days. One rainy night, after not hearing from him for a week, Anita decided to surprise him at his office. When she arrived, the receptionist hesitated before speaking softly. "Ma, Mr. Richard is not in. He left early with his wife." "His what?" Anita asked, her voice trembling. Within days, she discovered everything. He was not divorced, his company was in debt, and she was not his only fiancée. Richard had deceived several young women with the same lies, using his charm and fake promises. When she confronted him, he turned cold, even violent. "You think you're special? You should be grateful for what I gave you," he spat before walking away. He blocked her number and vanished from her life, leaving her broken, jobless, and humiliated. Anita sank into depression. She could not face her mother, who had believed she was succeeding in the city. She isolated herself, surviving on little savings and battling shame. The same city that once glittered with promise now mocked her. The lights no longer shone, they burned her eyes. She realized how easily desperation could be exploited, how dreams could be used as bait by men who wore success like a mask. Months passed before Anita decided to rise again. She remembered her mother's words, "My daughter, life may break you, but don't stay broken." She enrolled in a vocational class, learning fashion design. Slowly, she began to rebuild her life, one stitch at a time. Her small tailoring business grew, and so did her confidence. Years later, she returned home, not in shame, but as a woman who had learned through pain. She told her story at women's gatherings, warning young girls never to trust too quickly, never to depend on empty promises. Her experience birthed a movement called Rise Again Foundation, helping rural girls transition safely into city life and avoid predatory men. One afternoon, As Anita spoke at an empowerment seminar, she saw Richard sitting in the back row, older, defeated, and alone. He avoided her gaze, but Anita simply smiled. She had forgiven him long ago, because forgiveness was her final victory. The city that once broke her spirit had become the place where she found her purpose.